Hey guys, today I'm going to be watching a video called Obey the Walrus. I'm going to put something away first and before we get down to action. Alright, we're back. Now it's time to watch it. You ready?
Obey the Walrus
There we go.
was a supposed video created by a Latin American cult known as the Walrus. It is said that bad things are to happen after watching it.
Oh no.
Why don't you decide for yourself?
I watched it. Oh my goodness. That's why I'm getting bad grades on my test. That's the bad thing. Alright. It's said. Oh my goodness. I'm really scared. I'm really scared of this video. I really want to do it so I don't become a chicken, but here I go. Okay, this isn't scary now. Oh, this is gonna get scary. I'm not scared of it anymore, but I just don't like watching it. Because she comes up in your face. I don't like it. Ah! That's what scares me. Oh my god! Oh my goodness. I don't like it. I don't like watching this. Look at her face. It looks so creepy. I don't like this. Huh? It looks... It's like a jump. I feel like a jump scare is gonna come. Oh, it's just a walrus.
What the hell is that?
I'm watching Creepypasta. You guys can watch this part too. Number 12.
The Lavender Town Myths.
Oh, I heard of this.
Rumor has it that the original versions of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan had several frequencies and binaural beats that apparently caused young children to feel sick, headaches, and in extreme cases, commit suicide.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Coupled together with supposedly removed beta content, such as the White Hand, a supposed enemy that was to appear in the Pokemon Tower, the Buried Alive model, the original boss of Pokemon Tower who, if the player lost to, would devour the player character along with a very creepy song playing in the background known as staticmesh.avi.
Why does the boy look so happy? Look. This thing is eating this person alive and the boy's happy. That's kind of, I'm not scared of it. It just sounds cool to me. I don't know why.
And the ghost animation. An unsettling piece of animation that was supposed to appear numerous times during the player's visit at the tower, adding to the suspense of the already depressing tone of Lavender Town. Along with these, rumor also has it that if you were to add certain frequencies in the original Lavender Town song, the unknown were to spell out, "Leave now," despite that they were yet to be introduced until Generation 2, followed by an incredibly sickening sound. Turn your speakers down right now.
Okay. Let me go find the remote and I'm going to turn the speakers down. Where is it? There, I found it. Never mind. Hold on. Alright, I need to get closer for this. I think that's better. Alright, I think we'll stay at this. I'm not scared of this anyways. Ah! Who's coming? It's my brother or something. It's just my brother. I think he wants to come watch this with me.
These signs seem to indicate that the original beta version of Pokemon Red and Green at something far bigger and more disturbing plan than what we actually got. And maybe that's for the better.
Yeah, it is. I think this is the regular one. I don't know the one, or this one from Creepypastas. I don't even know what that says. Okay. Number 11. What could this be?
Username 6.
Oh, I heard of this.
6. There is a rumor going around that if one were to go to youtube.com.
I love YouTube, but I don't like this. I don't like 666. It's scary.
Numerous times. This is what supposedly happens. After refreshing the page for a while, the page would gradually transform into a hellish red, decaying YouTube channel. If one were to click on one of the videos, you would never be able to escape.
I don't like it. It's weird. It's really weird. Wow. Number 10.
Slender Man.
Yep, I knew they were gonna do this.
Slender Man. What creepypasta list would not be complete without him?
Yeah.
Slender Man
Huh?
is a mythological being who is
Oh.
shrouded in
What's
mystery.
this guy?
Described as looking like a tall, thin, and faceless man with a black suit as dark as the night and a tie as red as blood. He has apparently been sighted numerous times throughout history, possibly hinting at him being able to travel in time. He is usually seen around children right before they disappear, and apparently has long, inhuman tentacles stretching from his back. Remember the tall man Tiki Toby met? That's Slender.
I'm trying to watch a video. I'm uploading this to YouTube.
And are you Bing and are you
Oh, by the way,
X,
where this goes.
X.
Now let's watch the video. Come on.
Save the
Michael,
turtle.
stop! I want to listen.
X.
Misfortune.gb.
Thank you.
Misfortune.gb was a supposedly secret game that came embedded in certain cartridges of popular Game Boy games, such as Pokemon Red, among others.
Pokemon Red, yeah.
Those who played the game
I don't like
widely
it.
consider it to be one of the scariest video games of all time.
I'm not
The game would have you control a young boy through a mysterious building, who would occasionally be visited by an evil creature, theorized to be the devil himself.
I'm calling him
The
Ghost.
game would contain
Ghost
numerous
Man.
puzzles, such as the most known one, the cabin puzzle. The player would be presented with 4 different cabins to go in, and a text box would appear stating, "Choose wrong, and misfortune will befall your loved ones.
Are you ready to play?" That's
If one
kind
were
of
to
scary.
choose the wrong path, a game over screen would appear, along with a more detailed version of the being stating, "I am God here." The players who supposedly witnessed the game over screen would then suffer from extreme depression. Some wrote the whole thing off as a joke, yet some truly believe that witnessing the game over screen could actually cause misfortune to the player, just as the game had promised.
Number 8.
Smile Dog. A journalist was invited to the house of an old woman who apparently had an interesting story to tell him. When the man got there, though, the woman had locked herself in her room, spouting insane nonsense and refusing to talk to anyone. When she eventually decided to speak, she gave the journalist a floppy disk containing nothing but an image file named smile.jpg. The image file in question is a supposed picture of a demonic husky dog with a human-like smile. Legend has it that if you receive Smiledog as an email, it is important that you spread the word by sharing it to someone else in order for the curse to end. If you do not do this, the picture will grow gradually worse and worse, and Smiledog will appear in your dreams, demanding you to spread the word, ultimately driving you to insanity. Some say
it's just a
the
stupid
original
picture.
chain letter started with an image of the devil.
Number 7.
Candle Cove.
Oh, it's actually more cheerful this time. A little bit, not too much.
The show you watched as a child turned out to be something far bigger than what you previously expected.
Oh boy.
That is the case with Candle Cove.
I've never watched Candle Cove in my life.
Users discussing old nostalgic television shows, and one show in particular sparked some interest, namely Candle Cove. At first, the forum users innocently discussed the show, its characters, its low-budget charm, and its controversial main villain, the Skin Taker, who was a skeleton who skinned children alive in order to make a cape. But the more the users remember about the show, the darker cracks start to show. The last episode of the series, for example, consisted of nothing but random shots of different characters, along with horrific screaming taking up all audio, while the main character, Janice, could be seen crying, as if she had been through hours of it. The story ends with a forum user asking his mother about the show, and his mother replying with how she remembered his little pirate show, and how he used to sit in front of the television for about half an hour, watching nothing but static.
Uh-oh. It's not creepy, though. He's just imagining stuff. It's in your imagination. You're just imagining your own show. It's not
The
creepy.
Rake.
The Rake. That's creepy now.
Much like Slenderman, the Rake is a mythological creature recorded throughout history that stalks its prey. But while Slenderman mostly targeted children, the Rake has no boundaries.
Oh, boy.
Described as a humanoid or dog-like creature with long, sharp claws and an unnatural body position,
Oh, no.
it stalks, taunts, and scares its victims to insanity and death.
Death.
If the Rake chooses you as its next victim, it will not stop until you're dead. It's able to stalk you, observe you, and sneak into your bedroom while you're asleep.
Or is that thing?
Easy.
It's not here.
If one spots it, no one is safe.
I just did that to try to be serious with me.
Gateway of the Mind.
Oh, yeah,
A
that
team
thing.
of scientists once conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a person without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God.
Oh.
An elderly man was the only person to volunteer, who claimed to have nothing left to live for. The scientists performed a complex operation on the man, removing all of his senses. He could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. After a few days, the man claimed he was hearing mumbled voices in his head, and 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking to him, and even stranger, he could communicate back. The scientists weren't fully convinced, until the man began naming dead relatives of the scientists themselves. The man grew more and more distressed, for at every waking moment, he could hear the deceased speaking to him, refusing to leave him alone. He began clawing at where his eyes should be, and biting off chunks of his own flesh to feel something. The scientists rushed in and restrained the man to a table, so he could not kill himself. He soon stopped struggling, and instead started crying non-stop for 2 whole weeks. Then, out of nowhere, the man, despite his apparent blindness, focused his eyes on one of the scientists and spoke his final words.
I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us.
His vitals then stopped, and he dropped dead. There was no apparent cause.
But he ripped out his vocal cords. Alright, actually get back to seriousness, whatever.
Mario.
Mario?
Was a strange Super Mario World ROM hack that was found on the SMW.
Why is this all the way high up on the list, number 4? I don't
Two
understand
files,
why.
one ROM file and one TXT file.
What's TXT?
The TXT file contained nothing but random nonsense, except for one repeated phrase at the top of the page. Find me. The hack itself was also very peculiar, as all enemies appeared to be missing, and all levels had very strange ways of beating them. The most unsettling parts of the hack, though, were the numerous text boxes that appeared throughout the game. Most importantly, during one of the game's cinematics, detailing an apparent murder scene in unsettling detail. The hack ends with Mario traversing a long, dark corridor and eventually sinking into the floor as if he was going down a pipe. The author of the story theorized as to what the hack actually meant, and he came to the conclusion that Mario was in a hell of his own, atoning for his actions throughout his life, where he was lost to the grip of death forever. After the story was posted to the SMW Central, someone got the brilliant idea to convert the strange TXT file into an image file, to see what would happen. The image he was presented with has since then been widely considered to be victim number 1.
That's victim 1? That can't be victim 1. Victim 1 is probably a person, not a red demon thing.
SuicideMouse.avi.
Oh.
Suicide Mouse was an apparent cartoon created by Walt Disney himself in the 1930s. The video itself was nothing but a looping animation of Mickey walking down a road, looking rather bored.
Yeah.
The music sounded unsettling and creepy, as if someone was simply banging on random piano notes. The video would then cut to black, and people for a while believed that that was the end of the video. Until a few years ago. When reviewing the cartoon for DVD, it was revealed to in fact be 9 minutes and 4 seconds long. On the 6th minute, Mickey came back on screen, walking. And this is what happened afterwards.
Okay, it's just Mickey walking. It's really bad animation because it was in the 1900s, something or other. Oh! Alright, this is when it starts to go. Oh my goodness! Uh-oh. He's smiling. That's terrible. He wants to kill someone. That's not good. He starts screaming, and then the animation is I don't know what it's doing. Why is she screaming so loud? Jeez. It's just Mickey the smiley face. You don't have to be so scared. Well, whatever. Those stand shrug. Shrug, I mean, that's not shrug. Whatever I think what word means. Anyways. Oh my goodness. I just saw a head there. I swear. That was a head. Did you see that? There's another head. I saw so many heads. That's the end.
In the end, a close-up of Mickey's face is shown, possibly to signify the end of the episode.
Number 2.
The Russian sleep experiment.
Uh-oh.
In the 1940s, Russian researchers brought in 5 test subjects to test an experimental gas. The subjects themselves were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Bringing them in, They were all kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake. After 5 days, the subjects began demonstrating extreme paranoia. They began alternately whispering into the microphones inside the cell and tried to turn over their comrades. After 9 days, one of the subjects began screaming at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight before stopping abruptly, as he had apparently ripped out his own vocal cords.
Hashtag Ethan subject.
The other subjects did not react to this at all, and a few days later, the whispering abruptly stopped as well. The researchers announced that they were opening the chamber doors over the intercom, but to their surprise, a calm voice responded with,
"We no longer want to be freed."
The room was filled with fresh air, and the subjects immediately begged for more gas. The chamber was opened, and soldiers were sent in to retrieve them. What they saw was beyond their wildest imagination. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, and chunks of meat had been stuffed into the drain
On to the
in
fifth
center
one.
of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing water to accumulate on the floor. The remaining 4 subjects had removed large portions of their skin and flesh, exposing their lungs and showing that they were in fact digesting their own flesh.
Ew.
The subjects put up a fierce fight, and one of the subjects even died fighting, screaming for more
And more and more gas.
The remaining 3 subjects were restrained and moved to a medical facility, and when asked to receive morphine to care for the subject's wounds, the subject simply shook its head and told the doctors to keep cutting. Soon, the subjects were ordered to be put back inside the chamber along with 3 security guards, but one of the guards immediately drew his gun and shot the commander and one of the remaining subjects as the others fled the scene. He pointed his gun at the last remaining subject and said, "I won't be locked in there with those things. Not with you. What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." The subject smiled.
Said the subject.
Gone so easily. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from your beds every night. We are what you sedate and silence and paralyzes when you go to the nocturnal haven, where we cannot tread.
The guard then shot him, and just before he died, he weakly choked out.
My subject. Alright guys, before this one switches to the Harbinger experiment, I am going to say something. So, yeah. So, creepypastas are amazing, and if you don't like them, then click off this video right now. I may be getting off the 10-minute mark, but this video is a really long one. That's why it's like 20-something minutes, but whatever. So let's watch the Harbinger experiment.
Now, before I reveal my number 1 pick, remember that it is simply my opinion and my opinion alone. So if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. We all think and react in different ways. It's what makes us unique. And fans of my channel probably already know what I've picked. So with that in mind, I present to you my number 1 pick, the Harbinger experiment.
Harbinger, or whatever.
In 1971, a scientist nicknamed Zimmerman by the author, who showed keen interest in the occult and supernatural, invites the protagonist to work for him on an experiment like no other. When the author saw the payout, he knew he couldn't resist. 15 people were hired in total. Some were old colleagues of Zimmerman, some were maintenance workers, and some were hired as private security. Deep in the frozen wilderness of Alaska, in a deep underground system, the experiment began to take form. The area the experiment was conducted in was very confusing, almost maze-like, and the whole place felt very cold and isolated, almost creepy. The only exit to the area was through a thick metal lid up a very long ladder. The purpose of the experiment, according to Zimmerman, was to prove the existence of the metaphysical, a world we could not see. 3 test subjects were brought in, 2 men and 1 woman. None of them had any friends and family left, so in short, no one would miss them. On October 15th, 1987, 17 years after the experiment's original announcement, all preparations were in place. All 3 test subjects were sealed in 3 separate cells with cameras monitoring them. Zimmerman then began chanting something in an otherworldly language, and after a short while, an immense feeling of dread fell upon the entire structure. Zimmerman was not affected by this in the slightest, and as the air began to become very heavy, all 3 cameras turned to static. The next day, when the protagonist entered the main office, he froze. One of the cameras were functioning. The woman was lying in her cell, stone dead. Soon enough, Monitor 3's image returned. On screen was something horrifying. A humanoid with black, large, soul-piercing eyes, and unnaturally long arms and legs, and incredibly sharp claws. It did nothing but stand perfectly still and stare into the camera. Zimmerman ordered the door to the first cell, the only one showing static, to be opened. Armed with only batons and pistols, the security team braced themselves, and when the door opened, another horrifying creature emerged, and managed to kill one of the 4 guards before dying after being shot with over a dozen magazines. Hours went by, and the creature in cell 3 kept staring into the camera. All of a sudden, a sound could be heard, becoming increasingly louder and louder by the second, until it was almost unbearable. It was Living in the Sunlight by Tiny Tim. Then the power went out, and when it came back on, the cell...
Alright, I just heard something. I don't know what it was. But I'm going to open the door because this is getting too scary for me. So, let me open it. Don't worry, because I got you guys, the YouTube people that are watching this right now. So, I don't know what I was hearing. I think I heard something. I don't know why.
It was empty. The creature then appeared in the office and stopped for a moment. It glanced over at Zimmerman, the man who had brought it into existence, and then ran up to him and ripped him in half.
Uh-oh.
It went berserk and murdered countless staff. The protagonist ran towards the ladder. He knew what he had to do. And so, he closed the thick metal lid and locked it, dooming his fellow co-workers, but saving the world from that unspeakable horror. Or so he thought. He closes off the story by telling us of why he decided to share the story, as he's basically the only one left with the knowledge of the entire experiment. He could hear Living in the Sunlight right outside his house. It had found him. And with that, my picks for the top 31 creepypastas is finished. I hope you enjoy.
Alright, so